Hello and welcome to the SE25 cast. Today, Neocast interrupts, and Jensen creeps on Jamaby's sister.
Hello and welcome to the SE25 cast following the away game at Watford. Today with me we have...
I'm Domestep.
Neocast here.
And I'm Alex.
Alright, let's get some of the more depressing stuff out of the way first. What did you guys think of the first half? And how many of you pretty much shat yourself at Okaka's chance? We'll go with you, Neo.
To be honest, the game was, in the first half, that terrifying. I didn't really notice it. The second half, I was just so frustrated because we could have put that game to bed. Although, looking at the end of it, how we managed to scrape a point there, I don't know. Because we could not create anything. Even in the second half, which we looked better in, we were still poor. We didn't really create too many chances. Yeah, we should have had a penalty, which Wilf got booked for, which I think will be a key point to talk about later. But all around, it was a pretty boring and dire match.
What about you, Alex?
It was a bloody poor first half, wasn't it? We needed a striker, not Zaha and Townsend up front. Although it worked at Brighton and worked very well at Brighton for the first
Zaha is the most natural striker.
I agree, but not with Townsend as his partner. It just doesn't work at all.
Oh God, no! Townsend should not be the partner.
Yeah, he needs someone like Benteke or Soloff up there to just give him some support.
Know which one I prefer.
I was a bit disappointed the fact that nothing changed at all in the first half. I was expecting some sort of formation change because we were outmanned in midfield the whole first half, but there wasn't any changes at all. Maybe the sub could have been made just before half time, but again, nothing happened. Overall, it was very disappointing, really, the first half.
What about you, Don't Step?
We went into this game a little on the beach ourselves and set up a little poorly for Watford. I think that the team we set out and the way we played was not bad. When we got on the ball, we were doing some of the right things, but we just didn't. There wasn't a lot of end products.
I think the issue is the entire half with Brighton, we were able to just boss their midfield. Our midfield was more than a match. It actually outmatched Brighton's, which allowed us to control the pace of the game. With Watford, they have a much stronger midfield with a bit more depth. And I think it's a case of they were like two equally matched swords. And I would hazard to say Watford's was slightly better overall. And it just made a case of we were just losing everything in the midfield. We would get the ball, we would have good distribution between the defence and our midfield, but we couldn't get it up front because their midfield would just shut everything down. Or say if their midfield was higher up than was past our midfield, our defence couldn't get it to midfield. It was just a case of we literally just could not get past their midfield in the first half. The second half, we made a much better attempt at it, but the first half was dire because of their midfield.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. And I might as well just go on to... I was going to speak about Luca a bit later, but seeing as we're on the midfield topic, I think we should bring him in. So what do you think of Luca's performance this game? Don't Step.
I think Luca's performance was actually summed up a little bit by Neocast a second ago without mentioning his name. He was playing a different class of opposition, both in their formation and in their quality. He wasn't bad, but it was a lot harder for him. And I think Brighton. So last week he got booked early. He could have been off in the first half, and you don't know if that plays on his mind because I'm sure Hodgson and Lewington have conversations with him around that. You know, if you're going to pick up an early booking or what have you, maybe it's better not to do that. But I didn't think Luca was poor, but I think our midfield, that disjointed aspect wasn't anywhere near as cohesive as it should have been. And he, like the other two, was at the heart of that.
We have better midfield players than Watford, just not across our midfield. we had weak elements in our midfield. Yes, Johan and Luca are very, very good, but they themselves couldn't carry 2v4 basically, because in the other aspects of the midfield we were being overrun.
You got anything to add on that, Alex?
I don't think the formation helped us, really. Having 4 across the midfield flat just didn't help, and that's why they outnumbered us. I'm still not happy that Loftus-Cheek's being played as a winger, because I don't feel like that's his natural position. And MacArthur drifts inside too much as well, rather than the right wing. But, yeah.
That's you've lit my blue touch paper on Loftus-Cheek. He's not a winger, and he doesn't do enough work tracking back generally. That's probably unfair because he's we don't know what he's taught to do, we don't know what he's told to do, we don't know how he's coached for that position. But looking how he plays opposite Andros works so much harder coming back and going forwards.
The thing is comparing the work rate of anyone to Andros is a bit unfair, because I don't think Andros ever stops running.
But I don't. I see that as the perfect comparison, because you want everyone, similar to when we had Shamak. You know, outside of haircut comparisons, everyone needed to work as hard as Shamak did. But yeah, my big problem with Loftus-Cheek, and we talked about it on the Discord. I'm not sure if we talked about it on the sub. For me, Loftus-Cheek was at fault for their third goal. Now, granted, there was about 20 opportunities to stop it, but if he hadn't given up on trying to get the ball back, that goal wouldn't have happened.
This was a controversial point. I remember this.
And my point here with Watford, Alex has got the right point. He's not a winger. For me, I'd actually rather see Zaha playing that wing position.
Because we know he will track back.
Yeah, he's not great at tracking, but he's going to work hard. He's got that 100% effort that Loftus-Cheek, he's not been here long enough. He's not really bought into it. And when you saw Townsend at QPR, he wasn't that player. You saw Townsend at Newcastle, he wasn't that player. But Allardyce made Townsend that player. And I just wish we could put Loftus-Cheek centrally and have someone really hard working on both wings.
All right. Well, we can move slightly back in the field to slag off another one of our players. Well, maybe. I thought Joel Ward had quite a first impressive shot on our goal, which Wayne had to do some super save to get. What did you guys think of Ward's performance this game, Alex?
It was very poor, very poor. I don't know why Wan-Bissaka didn't start ahead of Ward, to be honest. Ward just shows how slow he was. Just very poor tackles. Should have been sent off by the end of the game. Unfortunately, he wasn't. Just constantly beat. I mean, I remember actually looking at some of the stats, and the majority of where the ball went for Watford was down our right wing. With MacArthur not really doing much defensive work, Ward was pretty much on his own all the time. And he just kept getting beat all the time.
What do you reckon, Neo?
I think Alex raised a great point. They did target Ward, and I don't think it was entirely his fault. Alex raised a bit about Maka not tracking back and helping Ward enough, and in the second half you could see that someone had stuck their boot into Maka and told him to help Ward out more, because the amount of times I saw Maka helping out Ward in the second half more than he did in the first, because in the first one he didn't really help Ward out, and Watford just kept pinging diagonals and long balls up towards Ward, knowing that he was going to get beat half the time. Yes, Ward still had a poor game. The almost own goal, I don't think there's anything you can do about that, because no one expects Deeney to... I think it was a shot. It might have been a really powerful cross, but he literally fucked it at Ward's legs and it cannoned off him. There's not much he could do because he was turning when that was coming in. But it's a case of Ward did have another poor game, and I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka needs to come back in for Leicester, because Leicester have fast wingers, and I think Wan-Bissaka will be more equipped to deal with that pace.
Yeah, don't step. You got anything to add on that?
From the church of We Love Roy, I think I'd probably just bring in the rationale as to why Ward is playing.
Experience.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's that, and I think there's not necessarily a case of too much too soon, but I think there's also we don't know how hard they're all working in training, and we don't know. We all love Bissaka because he's not been beaten much. He's not been. He's similar to what my comment a moment ago about how hard Townsend works. It's clear that Wan-Bissaka works very hard as well, but we don't know what Wan-Bissaka's told to do. There's clearly a little bit of Wan-Bissaka who keeps getting down towards the byline, and his crosses aren't brilliant. And I'm sure he's not told to deliver a shite cross, but Ward delivers crosses from deeper towards, it's not the right way to describe it, closer from the halfway line, he's willing to throw a cross in. Now, granted, when Wilf's on the pitch,
he's willing to put in an early ball.
Thank you. That's a much more eloquent way of saying it. When Benteke's on the pitch, that offers something. When Wilf's on the pitch, it offers nearly nothing unless it's a very clever through ball. But
Wilf has got him behind.
Yeah, but I think there's reasons to play Ward. We don't know if Wan-Bissaka's maybe not, because he's only just come out of under 23s. Is he really fully fit enough to be going straight into a run of 10 games? But equally, the same can be levelled at Ward. I didn't think perhaps Ward was as poor as other people. I think particularly when you're playing against players like Richarlison, he's not playing against me. He's playing against some decent player who is going to turn him inside and out. And I think against Brighton, there was a reason similar the same, that Izquierdo was just lightning fast and Ward is prepared to kick him where Wan-Bissaka is going to try and win the ball. But, that's my tuppence trying to guess what's in Roy's head.
The thing you said about fitness levels is we also, something that we don't really give too much detail to, we praise him for his performances against the Big Six. But considering he went from under 23 straight into the Big Six, it probably took a massive amount out of him, which, to be fair, Roy did say something about him being tired, and it must have been a lot worse than we thought, because this is his first season, and he was literally stuck head first into the deep end. United, Spurs, etc., etc. I could see him being fucked and just not having the fitness.
And don't forget, he was also involved in the international week because of the England call-up. So he didn't
He was
get
in the
10
England
days break.
under-23s, yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, I
because
can
of
see
that, he's, like you say, it plays into that tiredness thing again.
Right, I want to just quickly mention a little bit. I thought maybe it was a tactical decision to put Ward in rather than Wan-Bissaka due to the physicalness of Watford. They're kind of big, beefy players. Might just overpower Bissaka quite a bit. Whereas Ward, he's not the tallest or strongest, but it's certainly a bit taller and stronger than Bissaka, I think, and offers a bit more in defence.
He's probably bigger and stronger than most Jehovah's Witnesses.
The little point I want to make just quickly before we move on, I think, is the hate for Ward coming from the fact that we have Wan-Bissaka now? Like, do you think, like, if Wan-Bissaka hadn't have just appeared out of nowhere, would we still be really, really just gunning at Ward? Or
yeah, if we had Martin Kelly there with Ward coming back, we'd have rather had Ward playing on crutches, I suspect, than Kelly. So yeah, that's a really good point to make, that we have an embarrassment of riches when we've got this young lad that we're all so hyped about.
We do have Fosu-Mensah, although he's kind of disappeared for some reason. But I was wondering,
we have 3 games left. Let him fuck back off to United.
Well, I was going to say, we should maybe prefer Fosu-Mensah there rather than Ward.
Well,
Alex, I seem to remember you complaining a lot about his position.
Oh, I agree. His positioning is terrible. I'm not going to not say that, but just wondered if maybe you thought he'd be a better option than Ward.
I think there's for me there's a couple of things there because I like Fosu Mensah, but Roy came out and said recently that Fosu Mensah is more of a centre back for him than a right back, and I think having seen the positioning, I can see Roy's point because he gets caught out a lot more as a right back than he ever did as a centre back, because a centre back that extra little kick on of pace makes a difference. The other thing, I've only heard it on the terraces, and it could be bollocks. We're not going to get Mr. Parrish on here to tell us otherwise, but I've heard that Fosu Mensah's up against a appearance payment. So if he plays again, then we
have to pay more.
Yeah, it could be total bollocks. But the fact that he just has disappeared in favour of Wan-Bissaka and now disappeared further again behind Joel Ward, considering we don't have a huge amount of depth. Kelly's getting on the bench. I wonder if that's part of it.
It could very well be. I think the case of the complaints about Ward have only come now because, of course, we've known Ward to have poor performances, but he's usually been consistent. I think we're only starting to notice it more now that we have someone to compare him to, because for ages we didn't really have anyone to compare to Ward. It was literally just Ward doing a solid job day in, day out. He's not renewing his contract yet, hopefully. Hopefully he does it, but is he still playing for the club? Is he still bought into everything? Also, one thing about Tofu is I think he would work well in a back three as a right centre-back. I think he would have the freedom of moving about and playing his passes, but also have the positional
Well, that's
awareness.
where Frank played him, I think, originally, wasn't it?
Yep.
The first couple of games.
I think he would work well there, and I think that's where he would suit playing.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think that's where that was certainly why he was brought on board. We were going to be playing three at the back.
Yeah, let's move on from the Ward hate. Just going well, not hate.
I don't hate the
discussion.
man because he's been a loyal servant to the club since he's arrived. So,
yeah. So our first shot on target came from a header on the floor from Tompkins. Bit of a joke question, but do you think the lack of beard has made a difference in his game? Neo, we'll go with you.
I think it's a case of he did it to be more streamlined, but he isn't used to the extra aerodynamics. He's used to having that thing weighing him back. It's like Dragon Ball Z training weights. He's taken them off. Now he's just adjusting and getting used to his new power level. I think once he works it out, he will be a force to be reckoned with.
What about you, though, Steph? You got any opinion on Tompkins this game?
I think this is for me. I got a problem with it because I think it's a last-ditch effort to try and get in the England squad, and that upsets me because he shouldn't have to lower himself to the standards of the young, those who shave properly, just to try and get in England. He's good enough on merit.
He's sexy enough on merit.
Yes, absolutely he is.
Alex, got anything to add before we move on? Quick.
His beard was a bit dodgy beforehand with all the gaps and patches.
It did look like a tree. He'd blown through a tree.
Yeah, but I do think he looks better with one than without. At least it'll grow back.
Right, this is a bit that people probably been waiting to hear. We won't go with the penalty one just yet, but Zaha's first dive, as the Watford fans put it, Decore, in my opinion, probably should have got a second yellow and been off. What do you reckon of that, Alex?
I agree that he should have got a yellow. I don't know if it's a penalty or not, because his shirt was grabbed, but it didn't look too much, and it did look more of a stumble rather than the kind of push or a foul or something. But I do agree that Decore should have had a yellow for it.
What do you reckon, Neo?
Well, the thing is Wilf has come out publicly and said, yeah, no, he tripped. It wasn't really Decore bringing him down. So I think it's a case of it's not a pen, it's not a yellow, it's just he's fallen. Yes, him tugging on the shirt doesn't help, but the thing is sometimes you get that, sometimes you don't. I don't think it's a penalty. The next one, however, is absolutely a penalty, and the ref shouldn't be playing and reffing in this league ever again.
We'll go on to the second one because I reckon I'm going to get a bit emotional for that one. But I think I know Don't Step hasn't not going to say on this one, but the Decore, I 100% reckon he should have been yellowed for just the push. Like, there's no need for that like violence. But we might as well stick with Zaha. We'll go with the keeper incident before the penalty though. What did you guys make of that? We'll go with you, Neo, again.
Refresh me, keeper incident?
You know, where he like tried to go for the ball but hit the keeper, and then all the Watford fans are crying for him to go off. Like,
oh yes,
the
ball was in front of him and he stuck his leg out to get it.
Yeah, I know.
It's a case of that happens every game. If the striker doesn't put his foot in to try and win the ball, you shout at him for being too soft. If the keeper shies away from going to claim that, you shout at the keeper for being too soft. It's a case of both players went into that knowing what was going to happen and they both accepted. It's a case of Wilf did try and make an attempt at the ball and he did get there late. I don't think it's a yellow because it's a case of it was that fine margin, you can't really tell. But it's a case of Wilf is lucky to have not got a yellow there because he could have, depending on the ref and considering this ref's track records with handing out yellows like candy. But we'll save that for later.
Yeah, it was a bit of a bad one. Right, we'll go into the bit that I know Don't Step's been waiting for. What do you reckon? Penalty, dive?
For me,
Yeah.
Absolutely thought it was just a falling over, leaning towards a dive, that second pen. Or the second not pen. It wasn't until maybe the 7th or 8th replay did I start thinking there was actual proper contact to fall over. Wilf loves making a play of when you're running really, really fast, you fall over easily. I get that. I've never in my life run really, really fast, but I have occasionally fallen over, and the faster you're going, Wilf's right. In that moment, it just seemed like such slight contact. And I don't know if you guys remember, there was a penalty for Torre Andre Flo years ago, Norway against Brazil, and none of the cameras caught his shirt being pulled until like 2 days later. It came out, someone had it, and there was one of the Brazil defenders has got like a proper armful of shirt, and he's blatantly being pulled, but none of the TV cameras showed it. To me, that was me watching a penalty. I'm like, where has he got touched? And then you see like the knee or whatever it is that clonks Zaha, and he's going down.
Mariappa's foot.
Yeah, it just was. It's harsh, but I have to say I'm all right with it not being given, because at full speed from the ref's view, maybe for me it's one of those that should be a VAR thing, because I'm not seeing it the first time I watched it.
What do you reckon, Alex? I know you're typing.
It's a penalty. It's simple as that. It should have been a penalty. Sorry. I just noticed.
You're right. Do you need a minute?
Edit this out.
Are you okay?
It's just Neocast in the chat. Okay, I'll start from here. It should have been a penalty. Zaha was surrounded by 3, 4 Watford players, something like that. So when I first saw it, I thought it was a penalty. I could kind of see where you're on about these start with the ref's point of view, but at the same time, in that situation, I don't think you could say it's a clear dive, or at least he shouldn't have said it's a clear dive and given a yellow for it, because it didn't look like a clear dive at all from his point of view, or angle. Sorry.
No, you're right. For me, there's no chance it can be a Zaha yellow card at that point, because what are you yellow carding when you almost can't see it?
All right, Neo, you ready to get let off the leash?
Well, the thing is there was contact. He does go down, and he was going full speed. And the thing is everyone's saying it's a case of if you go to ground, which Mariappa did, and you do put in a challenge, you have to get the ball. You have to get some of the ball. He got none of it. and there was contact. It should have been a penalty. But that's fine if it's not given, because sometimes, stuff like that's not given. What I am upset with is the ref. He's had 15 games in the Prem, given out 2 yellow cards, 2 reds, 54 yellows. And there was 6 players around Zaha. How the fuck does the ref see enough of that to go, yes, that's a clear dive? Because if there's any point where he has doubt, he can't give a yellow there. There is not enough there for you to give a yellow for that for a dive, because he can't see it clearly enough. There's no way in hell he can see that clearly enough to go, yep, Wilf's dived. I think it was a case of he saw the first attempt and went, oh, that's one Wilf dive. If he does it again, I'm going to give him a yellow. And second time, Wilf goes down in the box. He's like, oh, yep, yellow card, mate. Even though he couldn't see anything. If you can't see it, you cannot make a judgment on it. And the ref, I think, did. Because there's no way in hell he saw it.
I agree with that. Just want to give a little slight information about the amount of cards given that game. Palace received 5 cards. Watford received 3. And when you think that Ward probably should have received another, and possibly Decor as well, brings up to 10 cards. Would have been 10 cards that game. That's a lot for one game.
Basically, the ref was shite at his job and couldn't keep the match under control.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think he lost control pretty early on, but Watford were being a bit
once
crazy.
Decore pushed Wilf and wasn't sent off for a second yellow, you kind of realised the match had got slightly out of hand from him. And yes, he's an inexperienced ref, but you can't just shove another player on the pitch while on a yellow. That's any level of play, not even Premier League. If you push someone while on a yellow, no matter what they've done beforehand, except maybe breaking someone's leg, you can't really do that. You should be sent off. I think it's a case of just he lost control of the game and just wasn't up to making that big decision.
Yeah, I'd definitely agree. Drunk Jammer B was screaming,
especially in front of the home fans.
Yeah, for sure. Moving off of Zaha, we saw our superhero striker come off the bench for Jimmy Matt. Do you reckon he made any difference, Alex?
Not really, no. It was a bit too late. He came on the 81st minute. He should have come on at half time. Or ideally started the game, but obviously he didn't. So he should have at least come on at half time. But he just didn't have enough of a chance to actually do anything when he came on.
Just going on, elaborating that question a bit. Do you reckon? I know in the Discord we're complaining constantly about the lack of subs, but do you think it's really becoming a problem with us, especially in the Watford game as well? We'll go back to you, Alex, on that if you want to say more.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, 3 subs, you might as well use them, especially when you've got players like MacArthur and Kabay who get tired somewhat easily. Can't really last 70 minutes. You can't really complain about our bench either this week. I mean, we had Riedewald, we had Benteke, we had Sorloth, we probably had Lee, although
Come on,
but
don't do this.
He's an attacking player, I suppose. It's better than nothing. So, I mean, there are options on the bench, and you expect to use more than one sub, especially 10 minutes before the end of the game.
Don't Step, you got anything to elaborate about Benteke and the sub?
See, I'm kind of, I feel like I'm being contrarian for the sake of it, and I'm enjoying it because for those who are only listening to the pod, you can't see Neocast going mental, setting his keyboard alight every time someone says something he doesn't like. But I'm genuinely.
It's not whenever someone does something I don't like. It's when someone butts in when it's my turn.
Notice
Alex.
you just butted in as I was talking, but that's fine. We'll
Well,
leave that in the
fuck
edit.
you, D-Stock.
We need to remember a fuck you, Jensen, at some point. But my point, I think, the way we're seeing the subs, that game was winnable for us from the first minute through to the last. But I think there's a point where Roy looks at that game and decides, we don't want to lose this game now. Similar to Brighton, he brings on Benteke. The man is a heading machine in our own box. He can't head for shit in the opponent box anymore. But in our box, he's fantastic. Fantastic. And I think that's really why the sub was made. Your question, Jamibi, about subs for me is we're stuck with this now as long as we got Roy. Roy seems to be flitting between saying we don't have squad deep enough of decent players of quality to bring on, but just made the point of who we did have on the bench. And when Selhurst was playing, he wasn't playing badly. So as long as he's fit, bring him on, putting him in the midfield, I don't think you'd have a problem. If Wilf can play in the middle up front, he can do a job in the middle of the pitch. Selhurst, has played left wing. I think we've got quality in there, but I think he's making a point to Parish that we don't have the depth we need. And I think on top of that, when he's bringing Benteke on, for me, the tactical nature of it is he's stretched that pitch as far as you can, try and win every ball, get Zaha around you for every knockdown, and all those corners, all those set pieces, which we still give away, those unforced errors in the last third of the game, or certainly the last 15 of a game. You have Benteke on the pitch to, he's got such a big chance of winning those headers, particularly as a forward, because he's really not having to mark anyone. He's just there to try and track the flight of the ball and get rid of it.
Neo, do you want to add anything onto that?
I agree with D-Stock here. I think it's a case of the Benteke, bringing on Benteke just defensively makes us look so much more solid from set pieces, which is something we've had issues with, where we just switch off and concede. And like he says, he doesn't need to mark anyone. Benteke is just a giant moving post. He just needs to get in between the ball and everyone else. Something that he's quite good at doing in our box. Not in the other box, but that's for another time. But I think we also need to remember that first and foremost, Roy is a pragmatist. If we get near to the end of the game and we're drawing or winning, he will try and get a point. He won't try and push at the risk of us conceding and losing everything. He'll go, a point is fine. If you get a point every game, you can stay up. And it's a case of he'll just try and get that point, make us more solid, which is something we need, especially in the last 15, 20 minutes of a match, because we do switch off, and we've always switched off at that point. It's something that, D-Stock's right, we've always done that for donkeys. Yes, we've been able to get goals at that point, but it's a case of more often than not, we've conceded and we've lost points.
That's what I was going to mention. You saying that he's trying to play for the point and make sure we do get the 1 point. But a lot of the times we haven't got the 1 point or the 3 points because he's not made a substitution or done anything like that in the last 15, 20 minutes when he should have.
Hold on. I got a little old man on my shoulder trying to stick 2 fingers up down the microphone to you. Do you not remember the Tottenham Hotspur game where he brings on the centre-back? And
that was due to injury, though, wasn't it? Like
he makes the sub. He makes the sub.
And then we concede 2 minutes afterwards due to the new centre-back not tracking Harry Keane.
You're absolutely right that we're damned if we do and damned if we don't. But he's got the evidence to show that when he brings on a sub, off the bench, they're not good enough. I was delighted when he brought Riedewald on against Brighton because I really like him. But we've all seen Riedewald make a mistake. He's got a mistake in him. Chun Yong Lee, Burnley's got another one. We've got so many mistakes in us.
It's also a case of, I think Roy has a system set out for every game, and that is the system he wants to play. And he'll put in the players that are best suited for that system and how he wants to go at that match. Sometimes, yes, he gets it wrong. Sometimes he gets it right. I would hazard to say he's got it more right this season than not. And it's a case of, I think the subs are a case of they're not the players he wants on to fulfill that system.
That's one of the slight problems, though, that I find with Roy, is that he's not willing to make the change that he needs to do in the game. You can see where parts of the game is just not working out, but he doesn't make that change.
But that's easy to say as armchair speculation.
True.
We don't know what he knows about the players on the bench, their fitness, their hunger for the game, or how they will fit into the system he has in place.
Of course, he's got a lot of information that we don't have, but I can only go off what I simply watch. And from the looks of it, if I can see something's not working out, then surely Roy could see that it's not working out, and something needs to change. And if it doesn't change, then I'm going to question it. Regarding both of your points about Delaney coming on and Kane scoring a goal and Tottenham winning, I think that's just more for the Delaney rather than a substitution. Unfortunately, Tompkins picks up an injury. I think I remember him actually saying Tompkins is all right as well. Tompkins himself saying he's all right, he could play on. But then Roy makes a substitution and obviously Delaney comes on and we concede. I don't think that's a sub.
Tompkins was out for a couple of weeks after Spurs, though, wasn't he?
I think he probably was. But Tompkins,
which means it's a case of Tompkins is putting on a good face and Roy knows it.
True.
So what you're saying there about it's Delaney, not the substitution, but surely that's Roy's point, is that he's got a bench full of Delaney's. He's not got a bench full of
Messi's.
Rio Ferdinand. Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't, though. He doesn't. We know that
which is something we need to sort out. Which brings us back to D-Stock's original point of Roy might be angling for more summer transfers, basically saying and highlighting to Parish, hey, we need more depth.
And I think as well, sorry, Neil, I think the other point, typically, now obviously Roy's been at Inter, way back when they, even back in those days, they were having directors of football and transfer teams when in England that stuff just didn't exist. This Roy's last transfer window, his only transfer window at Palace, was a transfer window where Roy clearly didn't do much of the signings. You've had that lad, and I forget his name, it was on the sub, come out in the UAE papers saying how Yaroslav Yak is his man, and Palace is going to be selling him for 100 million in a year. And then we've got Rakip, who I can't believe Roy would have signed a player who, was nothing, offers us nothing in terms of wasn't immediately fit, hasn't since got fit enough to play, and Sorloth again. I don't think Roy necessarily signed him. And I think there's a part of this here where Roy's saying, what you've bought me shit. They haven't got out of the under-23s. They've made it on the bench a couple of times. And, we don't know the politics within Palace. This may be an anti-Dougie thing. It may be a anti-Parish thing, or it may be entirely innocent. And actually, Roy just fancies the 11 players on the pitch to do a better job than bringing someone on.
Yeah, going with that, that was a question I had a bit later on. But we'll go with you, Neo. Do you reckon we'll ever see any of the new guys play, even if we're safe? And we know we're safe. Do you reckon Rakip and Jack might come on? Or
I think we'll see Sorloth, because I think Roy has some faith in Sorloth, because I certainly do, and I think he does as well. I think he thinks he can do the job. So I think if we are safe, I don't think we will be safe until the last day. But it's a case of this upcoming transfer window is going to be very telling to either it being Roy's say or it being the scouts and Parish's say above him. It's also going to be very telling as into how much we're willing to put in and how much depth we're looking to get. So it's a case of, first things first, we need to be safe. Then we need to do a lot of clever investing.
what do you reckon, Alex? Anything to add on that?
I don't think we'll see Jack or Rakip this season. I expect Jack Jack, Jock, how you pronounce it. I expect we'll see him next season at some point, probably starting on the bench for a bit. Rakip, I thought we were going to probably buy at the end of this transfer window, at the end of the contract. But I'm not sure now. The fact that we've not seen any of him at all, he's not even had one single appearance, I don't think we're actually going to buy him out.
Yeah, I'd be inclined to agree with that. Just before we move right off the Watford game, I just wanted to go back for one point that I know has been, well, we had the moderators talking about people running over to the Watford sub. What do we think of Watford in general? Do you think there's some sort of rivalry brewing between the two clubs, mainly because of
They're
Zaha?
shit cunts!
We'll go with you first, Neo, anyway.
No, they're not. I think it was a case of that game was frustrating for both sets of fans, just with the whole, for Watford fans, the whole Wilf diving and just them just shouting at all of our players, booing them all. And the fact that they will never have a true derby like we do. I think it's a case of both sets of fans were just annoyed. However, as a mod of the sub, don't be dicks. Don't go on to another sub and start brigading them just because you're upset. Stick to yours, complain in our subreddit. That's what it's for. We will upvote this on our subreddit. And depending on the form that it's put in, i.e. shitposts, maybe even start and sticky it.
We'll go with another mod. Alex, what do you think to add on that?
We're not really rivals. You can
Oh
kind
God,
of
no,
see,
we aren't.
you can see why they might say so. The fact that we did beat them in the FA Cup, we did beat them in the playoff final to actually get promoted.
We just keep
Premier League.
beating them.
Yeah, basically, they just, we're unstoppable to them.
They're like that 6-year-old younger brother that just follows you about and just like, go away. We don't want you here.
See, I think there is a rivalry brewing. We've got no reason to have a rivalry with Brighton, but it grew out of a period of comings together, reasons to start to learn to hate each other. And I kind of feel as if that's what we've been experiencing with Watford for the last however many years. You know, the Watford playoff final, the Watford semi-final, the games subsequent to that against Watford have been fairly heated, and I think we're in a similar position. That they are, you know, they're a London club despite the banter, but they're never a Champions League London club. Like us, they're not involved in that aspect of kind of the Premier League zeitgeist, and they get forgotten about like we do. You know, their players for England don't get picked. Their players don't get picked in team of the weeks, all that kind of stuff. And I think that's part of it, that we feel similar to them. We love beating them. Because we love beating them, you know, we've got no proper rivals left. Charlton's a nothing, Millwall's a nothing, Brighton's a tin pot.
Brighton's nothing as well.
Yeah, but I think also Brighton, you know, all the old jokes, you know, you play in a shit stadium. Well, now, you know, the Brighton Council and whoever else got together and built Brighton a great stadium.
A very sterile stadium.
Yeah, exactly. But it looks very nice. Watford
It does
play in a
look very
dump.
nice.
We play in a dump that's about to get a little less dumpy. And
On one side.
well, yeah, but you know, that's the only side that gets photographed. But for me, I think if this goes on for another year or two, there absolutely could end up being a rivalry. All it would take is us signing, you know, Doucouré, or them, you know, they're not going to sign Wilf, but do you know what I mean? Them signing Benteke and him banging in 2 hat-tricks next season, and we will hate
We
them
signed
forever.
Harry the Hornet.
Yeah, exactly.
Wilf wouldn't like that.
But I think that's where there's a shared kind of respect, and you know, we've both endured too many years in the Championship, and we don't hate them in that vitriolic way of we hate other people. But fuck me, it feels great to beat Watford every season, and I'm sure they feel the same.
I think the issue is asking a Palace fan if Watford's a rivalry would get a lesser response than asking a Watford fan if Palace is a rivalry. Because the thing is in those big matches, we seem to always come ahead in recent time, obviously, against Watford with the FA Cup final and the playoffs. It's a case of it still feels very much one-sided. I think Watford would have to do us over for the Palace fans to start thinking of Watford's as main rivals as well. Because Watford fans, they really don't like us. They don't like Wilf, and they don't like us.
Yeah,
Mainly
I'll give you the Wilf thing, because the Wilf thing is funny as fuck. Because nearly every time they've moaned about a penalty, it actually has been a penalty. You know, the playoff final, it wasn't a fluke. He was fouled. You know, the week just gone, they were fouls. And I think you can see with Wilf that with the emotional player that he is, he gets wound up against Watford. And I think that aspect of that feeds into the fans. So I do think it's growing, and I do think there's potential for a proper rivalry there in the coming years.
I'll agree it is growing, but at this point, I still think it's a bit too lopsided to be considered a true rivalry. If it does continue this way, it will develop into an actual rivalry, and then we'll have a rivalry with Brighton and Watford. Completely opposite fucking ends.
Yeah, I sort of agree with that as well. It does seem a bit one-sided at the moment, but we'll see what happens. But all in all, with that game, it was another point that was very much needed for us. What's your predictions for Leicester? Don't step.
I'm going to stick with what I said the other day about Jamie Vardy and other World Cup players now starting to step off a little bit. Because if you're Jamie Vardy, this is your last chance to go to a World Cup. You know, if he's lucky, he'll get to the Euros in a couple of years. But I think, yeah, I'd like to think we could take a point from Leicester. I'd like to think on a good day we'd have the beating of Leicester. Leicester have finished in a weird way. They're certainly kind of playing for nothing. Claude Puel is an interesting chap at the best of times. He got booed, I think, the other day, or got a bad reaction at Saints. Booed off Leicester. Leicester fans booed them off the other day at half time. It doesn't seem out of the realms of possibility that we get a win. I'm not sure it's a Benteke game, although didn't he get a hat-trick or something, or some weird thing last time? So maybe. I'd love to see Sorloth get a run out now that we're not guaranteed safe, but we're certainly reasonably close to a guaranteed safe with 3-4 games remaining and Southampton being more than 2 games behind us. You know, we're not about to play Lakilo, Lameka and Kirby, but I'd love us to give Sorloth a run out, maybe try something a little bit different.
Neo, you got anything to add with that?
I really don't have a good feeling about this game. Considering the reverse fixture, we won 3-0. I actually think, and to use the Discord's newest favourite word, wallop, I think we're going to get walloped 3-0. I think they're just going to be completely all over us. I just think their attack's looking a lot more consistent than ours, because our attack doesn't look consistent. We don't even know how our attack's going to line up. I just think Vardy and Mahrez are just going to have a field day. There's going to be a curler long range from out of the box just to... Sacco had his moment, and now cosmic balance needs to be restored.
What do you reckon, Alex?
I said something very controversial, didn't I?
I think it'll be 2-1 either way. It depends on how we set up. We need Benteke or Sorloth starting for us to actually be able to attack. I've got a little stat here which shows that we've conceded in 88% of our home games. So we will carry on that tradition and concede in this game as well. But I do think we could nick it 2 goals. They could nick it 2 goals. It really depends on the day.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I reckon I'll go to a Palace just to be a Palace fan about it. Even though I probably should say that we're going to lose like 3-1 as well. But yeah, I know we do this most weeks and it's probably a bit boring, but do you reckon we're safe? We're at 14th position with 35 points. Are you still scared, Neo?
Yes. Until we are mathematically safe, I will be worried. Because this is Palace, we can do the impossible. Until Brighton can West Brom catch us at all?
I think so.
Good, I can stop worrying about that. But no, it's a case of one more win, I think, is what we need. Get up to 38 points, and I think once we do that, we will be safe. So if we beat Leicester, then that's great. I think we'll be safe then. But it's a case of just get those last points, get it mathematically safe, and then just move on.
What about you, Don't Step? You relaxed or scared?
Yeah, I'm a lot more relaxed now. I think the last few weeks have been respect the point. And again, if we respect the point again, the chance of Saints picking up enough wins, the chance of Stoke picking up enough wins is slim to none. So I'm a lot more relaxed than I was. I was very doom and gloom, and I have been from the start of the season. But
You were very Newcastle?
yeah, exactly. I'm at the point where I'm kind of ambivalent because I feel as if Mercurial Wilf has somehow got the kind of magic fairy dust that should on that last day it come down to something crazy if
He
Saints
stole a
suddenly go on
certain
winning
someone's
streak.
magic hat.
Yeah, exactly. That, and I think actually, to Alex's point of a moment ago, against the big slow centre backs of Leicester, I absolutely wouldn't be starting Benteke. I'm not even sure I'd be starting Sorloth.
I would, because he's got some fair legs on him. I mean, he can run fast.
No, describe fair legs. What you look at on a footballer.
If we get into that, we will be here all night. And it will literally be a seminar on Luca.
But no, I think to your point, Sorloth, I think I've made the point before. He breaks in the top 10 speeds of a Premier League player when he plays, and that is what we need. We can't do this with we just
The
can't
donkey
do this with Benteke.
Alex, what do you reckon? You relaxed, scared?
No, I'm fairly relaxed. You look at our fixtures; they favour us quite a bit. I mean, 2 of them being against Stoke, West Brom.
You just know West Brom's going to beat us. That's a free
With
loss.
Pardew there, I thought that, but now that Pardew's gone, I feel like we could probably do it, or at least get a draw. I feel like literally every single 1 point probably gets us there.
3 draws would be all right.
Yeah. But when you look at Southampton's fixtures and Stoke's fixtures, they're not the easiest. So it certainly favours us quite a bit.
It's that last spot that's up for contention, really. It's whether or not Southampton can drag themselves out of it.
And to think they play Bournemouth next, then Everton. Everton's going to be a little bit difficult.
Then Swansea.
Yeah.
And then Man City.
Yeah, City
Man
away.
City in the last
City
day.
home, sorry.
If Saints aren't safe by that final day, then they're pretty much fucked.
Yeah.
All right, just a couple more for you guys. I know we do this every week as well, but I know we just sort of brushed on it, the last spot. Does anyone want to have a guess at who's going down again? We'll go with you, Neo.
I'm going to throw it out there. I think West Brom should be relegated now. I think it'll be Stoke. And I'm actually going to go Swansea. I think Saints will do just enough to stay up.
Alex, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I agree with all that as well. I think Southampton have looked pretty decent recently against Arsenal and Chelsea in both their games. We're unlucky to not actually get anything from them. So I can see them nicking a couple points and Swansea just falling down the table.
Don't Step, what do you think?
For me, it's the current bottom 3. The Southampton, Stoke and West Brom. Swansea is shit, but they're picking up draws. They're 4 points ahead of Saints, so that's 2 games that Swansea have to lose, that Saints have to win, and Saints have only got 4 games
Saints
left.
also play Swansea. That'll be a big game.
Both Saints and Stoke play Swansea.
Yeah, which I think I can't see Swansea losing, because you just,
Swansea can relegate 2 teams then, easily.
I think Palace should relegate Stoke, because is that the game after Leicester?
Yeah,
Yes.
it is.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think we relegate Stoke the
That's
week
if
after
we win.
Leicester. No,
And don't
regardless of
capitulate
what
and
we
give
do.
them 3 points.
No, I think regardless of what we do, if Stoke lose their next game, I think we relegate them, because they're 4 points, which would leave them 4 points with 2 games to play. Oh, sorry, 1 game to play,
Mm.
which would be great. I do enjoy relegating teams. I'll be perfectly honest. I hate it when it's us, and you kind of go, "Oh, it's no added incentive." Fuck, it is. Of course it is. Stoke at Stoke.
Hull was a bit of a smile,
Yeah, exactly.
especially the fashion we did it in.
Yeah, it was a bit mad. I didn't actually get to go to that game because it was in Isle of Wight, but I was screaming in the pub with a pint, so that was enough for me. But yeah, I'm going to Stoke, so I'm hoping for another Champions League banger at the last sort of.
And then either Townsend or Ward are out forever.
I'll be on the pitch if there's another Champions League banger. But last question for you guys. It's a bit of a mad one. We'll go with Alex first. What position do you think we're going to finish in after these 3 games?
Ooh. I can't really say a specific one. I think we'll finish roughly where we are now, kind of maybe 12th maximum. I can see 12th, 13th, 14th, roughly that.
Don't step. What do you reckon?
I'd be impressed if we got as high as 12th. I think we'll probably stay 13th, 14th, because we're not going to win the last 3 games and sneak up into 9th, 10th, 11th for me. And I think Bournemouth or Watford, one of them will get a win, which will keep us in that 13th, 14th.
Neo?
I think we're going to finish 15th. I think it's a case of we'll get the points we need to stay up, but we will not win our last games. We're going to lose one of our last 3 games, draw the other one, and win one. We'll get 4 more points before the end of the season.
Do you think we're going to beat? Because I think if Stoke are about to get relegated and we're going to relegate them, I think we'd relegate them. And I think West Brom
I think
on that
we will
last day of
literally
the season.
I think we'll draw that. Lose versus Leicester, beat Stoke, draw West Brom.
Yeah, I think West Brom on the last day of the season, I think you can guarantee there's more than 4 goals in that game.
All right. Well, that's basically it. Now, has anyone got any shout outs to make for anything?
Jensen's got one in the Discord for you.
Apparently, I've got to shout out my sister because she listens to the pod while running. But she ran the marathon on Sunday and she completed it. So we'll give her a shout out for that instead.
Good.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well done, Jamaica's sister.
How
much money did she raise?
She was running for Royal Marsden and she's made just over 2,000, I think 2,200. So done pretty well.
Excellent. Well done.
Shout out to the Watford FC mods. We're sorry for having a brigade enter your sub.
Alex, I think you've got one as well. Yeah, go.
It's not so much as a shout out, but it's more of just kind of general information that
Amazon affiliate link.
pretty much, yeah. Visit our website at www.these25cast.co.uk and listen to our episodes and click on the Amazon affiliate links if you'd like to help support the podcast. We've also got a Twitter now, twitter.com/SE25cast, I think.
Yeah, I guess. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And just a
smash that like button.
A shout out to Alexa, who's been pinging every time I've said Alex's name, which is very annoying. Now she's speaking as well. Thanks for listening if you're still here. And we'll see you for the next pod.